Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Supersoul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and your co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Welcome to Tuesday. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. Mara, how you doing?
Mara, how you doing? Mara?
Pretty good.
All right. We on the road to recovery. Recover you back to our spiritual identity. Check what I found here in the little trivia book for Kaustubha.
Oh, okay. Is this going to be a daily thing now? Okay.
Well, there's a lot of pages in this book. It's as if I got it just for you.
Yeah.
But
okay,
no, this one is not. I'm not going to use it as a trivia, but I just thought it was interesting. So, we have the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, who actually was blessed that he could die at will. I mean, he doesn't have to die. He's also cursed that he has to live a long time.
Bhishma.
Yeah, and because one of his personal vows, he would never fight a woman in battle, he decided, and he knew of the secret birth of Shikandi, that she was a woman that was born to kill him. So he said, "Listen,
what happened in her previous birth?"
Yeah, it's a lot of good backstory in the Mahabharata. It's like backstory after backstory. That's how we understand ourselves. That's how I understand Mara. I got to understand her backstory. If you want to figure out Mara, know her backstory. She's got a whole thing going on there in that private school. We don't even know.
All right.
Anyway, so Bhishma had this backstory where he had this thing with this woman, and the woman vowed to kill him in her next life. So anyway, in that war, he was fighting against Krishna and the Pandavas, even though he was the greatest devotee of Krishna. And so he could have his own story, the Bhishma story.
Oh yeah.
So right? And so Bhishma went in, and or Yudhisthira and Arjuna came, and they were like, "We cannot beat our grandfather," and we have to go. And at the nighttime, they had to go to the camp where Bhishma was staying, and they had to beg him, "Please, what can we do to kill you? We're fighting on the side of Dharma. We have Krishna on our side, but there is no way you can kill us. We can kill you." And Bhishma said, "Yes, if you didn't come here, you wouldn't be. You would never do it. But because you came, I'm going to tell you how to do it." So he had to bring Shikandi to the forefront, and then Arjuna would have to riddle him with arrows.
Okay.
Where he would lay on this deathbed. I'm going here. There's a reason why I'm going there. So on his deathbed, he gave certain instructions to the kings. Would you like to hear the 9 instructions by Bhishma?
Yeah. What did that have to do with the Shikandi story? He just gave those instructions one way or another.
That's the only way they could kill him. They had to bring Shikandi there.
Okay.
I mean, Shikandi was a woman in his previous life.
But you could have just said, "Hey, Bhishma gave 9 instructions on this deathbed." You could have just said that.
You know what? I could have just said that. It had really nothing to do with it. It was a beautiful squirrel that I chased into the forest.
It was a squirrel, exactly.
It was a squirrel, but it was sort of a transcendental Mahabharata squirrel.
Okay. So what are the
But you're right. I could have
cut
the middle out there.
Yeah. But okay. What are the 9 instructions? I'm very interested to hear this. These are taken from Bhagavatam or from Mahabharata?
Some of them they're deep, and some are like pretty simple. You like Bhishma.
Are these from
Bhagavatam?
Bhagavatam?
I'm not enlightened.
Are they from Bhagavatam?
I don't know where they're actually from.
Okay.
Now I know that you're not going to take that seriously.
No. Who put the book together? That's a good question. Let's start there. Who wrote this book?
It's just like the Abbott and Costello episode.
Who wrote the book?
I was like, you just have to listen. You don't. Everybody listen to that Abbott and Costello episode we sent out yesterday about the ship, the whale, and the cobbler.
Oh, right. That's what. It was a great ending. To that one.
You just have to listen. You don't have to say anything. Just listen to what I'm going to say. So man went to go get a whale. What kind of whale? It doesn't matter what kind of whale. Who published the book?
Who? Yeah, who did?
Who's the editor and the publisher? Just listen to the 9 things I'm going to read.
But I'll listen with a different mindset when I know who put the book together.
Purushottam Das. He's done a lot of very wonderful work.
Okay.
In the Hare Krishna movement.
Let's go.
Okay. Here it says, Bhishma Dev's advice to civilized human beings. One should not become angry towards anyone.
Ever?
I don't know. It doesn't say ever and ever, but that's what it says.
Okay. Let's take that as a general instruction, right? Like, in general,
it's a general instruction. I'm sure you could allow that. Could be. You could write purports and purports on that.
Sure.
Okay. Here's one. One must not lie.
Very good.
Very good. Although, you know what? I just read another taxonomy thing earlier in the book, the times that you can lie.
Oh.
And it was very interesting. I got to dig it up now. But it was like in a life-threatening situation, you can lie to protect.
Is this Chanyaka Pundit? Could that be?
I don't know who did that.
What
kind of whale was it?
Okay, let's get back to Bhishma.
Okay, Bhishma.
So one got two. Don't become angry. Don't lie.
Don't lie. One should distribute one's wealth equally amongst relatives as defined in the Manu Samhita. That's a tricky one.
Okay.
Is equally with your children and your spouse and your great uncle? No. Okay. That one I'm going to just put a check next to. One should forgive offense despite the capacity of punishing an offender.
That's straight out of the 6 pillars.
Right?
Did they put the 6 pillars in that book? Raghunath's the 6
No,
pillars.
they didn't.
Maybe the next
That's
edition.
on the next edition.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, here's a good one. One should beget children only with one's legitimate wife. Write that one down. That's my tattoo.
I agree.
I agree with them. All right. None of these are standing out as like groundbreaking. Like I don't think I would get that many likes on each. If I was to put one as an Instagram post, be like, yeah, I hope not. I hope
Is that
not.
How you
legitimate
frame things?
That's how. That's
world?
The metric.
Are you that desperate?
That's the metric for how do I know if it's
validation?
Like truthful or not? If I got a lot of likes on it and traction.
Okay.
My Instagram account. One should have a pure mind and a clean body. I like that. One should not be. One should have a
pure mind and a clean body.
Pure mind and a clean body.
Okay.
See, it's not just a bath. We tend to think, and it is bath. It is bath. You got to take a bath. But I heard this great analogy. A fish is swimming in the water, and yeah, he's the smelliest thing if you take him out. So it's like that analogy. So it doesn't matter. It's not just the external bath; it's the internal bath that we do with mantra.
Gotcha.
It's a good one, Mayor.
Can you imagine seeing? Someone's got to just do a film of Bhishma Dev lying on the battlefield on the.
That's a movie in itself. That's a movie in itself.
Could you imagine what that would look like? Could you imagine being there? Oh.
I know.
Wouldn't it be special?
This is the stuff. Me and Kaustubha
we have to go to Kurukshetra.
Lay on our back at night in bed, just going.
We have to go on pilgrimage to Kurukshetra.
I'll go.
You've never been there, right?
I've never been. Have you?
I've never been there either.
Let's go.
We got to do it. And Naimisharanya.
Mara's like waiting. Are they going to invite me? No. When are they going to?
Everybody's invited.
You're just one of everybody, Mary. Of course.
No,
you're all invited. We're all invited.
Your mind is just thinking in terms of like status and everything. Raghunath, let go of that. That'll be my thing on my deathbed. Raghunath, let go of these status ideas and validation. Let it go.
The Kaustubha, the prayers of Kaustubha. One should not be inimical to anyone. Inimical.
Like
this
that.
person's my enemy.
That's a very.
Like
that.
You know what?
That's
That might be the biggest one I'm hitting.
Maybe if you get the Sanskrit of that would be interesting to find.
A good tattoo on your
exactly
forearm.
Yeah. Don't be inimical to anyone. Even those people that are like, he just had someone shoot a bunch of arrows and he wasn't inimical.
They're not inimical. They're like, okay.
As a matter of fact.
That's what you beat.
As a matter of fact, the person that shot all those arrows into him, he had like the deepest affection for.
It was Arjuna.
It was Arjuna
It was
himself.
his nephew.
And Arjuna came, and okay, here's a quiz for you, Raghunath. When Arjuna appeared there, Bhishma was lying there for like a month on that bed of arrows, right? And when we say bed of arrows, it was because
they had to wait for the moon to go into the northern hemisphere. I think that was it.
Well, what day of the battle did he get killed?
I think it was like day 6.
Okay, so 6 days after Gita Jayanti, right? And then you got the whole way until what's that day called? The Sankranti, Makara Sankranti.
Makara Sankranti.
So that's about a month. It's from December to January. It's about a month.
Maybe
it's
right.
about a month he was lying there on that bed of arrows. So
they have to fight the war around him. How did that work? Do they have to rope off the area?
Maybe, I'm not sure. What was I saying? I
don't know if
completely
I can
lost
laugh.
track.
I can
I was
probably
about to
laugh.
say something. Oh, Rug, you're out of control today. You're out of
I'm
control.
sorry.
You got me going off on squirrel things
My
now.
mom's not CBD oil.
Don't go. Please. You had to do that, didn't you? Okay, control, Raghunath. Sober up. Sober up right now. Read your things now. Go ahead.
The last one, we're done. Two more. One must always be simple. And that's pretty good considering he's from
Aristocracy.
He's from aristocracy. He's from a kingdom, and he's saying, "Be simple."
Live simply.
There's a simplicity about all these kings.
Mhm.
If you
They're
read their
always
life
eager.
stories.
Eager for the simple life.
Mara, what were we just reading when we were talking about this king from Jaipur or from somewhere in Rajasthan where he had this massive sadhana every morning that he would do. He wouldn't do anything, wouldn't speak to anybody. And one day the kingdom was getting attacked and they were like, we're not allowed to disturb him during his puja. It was they're just they play it simple. Kaustubha, you do too. That's why you're admirable.
You too, Rob.
He plays it very simple in this world.
Keep it simple. Simple,
But effective.
simplicity,
But
and
very,
kindness.
very
These are the
effective
things.
with what he does.
I could be a lot more effective. But come on, what's the last one now?
The last one is strange. One should support servants or subordinates. I guess that's good.
You have to care for those that
care for people that
under
are
you.
subordinate and dependent on
That
you.
was it right there. It was kindness and simplicity. Those are the last two ones that he mentioned.
Right.
Now here's my question for you. When Arjuna did two things for Bhishma when he arrived there. When we say he was on a bed of arrows, it means there's so many arrows to his body, and then you fall back and you're just kind of suspended.
Suspended by arrows.
By arrows. So what were the two things that Arjuna did for Bhishma when he arrived there? I can tell you know. So,
Mara, do you know?
Mara,
I know.
Mara,
I
do you
know.
know? Mara, are you?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it. When he shot the arrow into the ground to get water.
Yes.
Yeah, he asked for a glass of water.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Duryodhana
He
brought him
didn't
a
even
golden
ask.
cup.
I don't think he even asked. I think he just did it because he knew.
No, he did it because Duryodhana came first with a golden cup.
But
he said, "That's not the cup of water for a warrior. Arjuna,
right.
bring me a cup of water."
Boom.
Boom. Sprouting
Hold it.
fountain hit a spring.
Hold it,
Hit a
Duryodhana.
spring.
Oh, so this was earlier then. This wasn't at the end when they came, when he's about to die. Then that
Yeah,
must
this
be
is I
earlier.
think right when he went down.
Okay, so then what also did he do for Bhishma, Mara?
The second one, I don't know.
Bring me a pillow.
Yeah, wanted a pillow.
And so of course Duryodhana brought this big fluffy goose down pillow with the memory foam. And Bhishma said, "Not the one with the memory foam. Give me a real pillow for a warrior." And sure enough, he put the arrows in the ground. He made this feathery lotus
arrow
mudra
pillow shot into the ground.
arrow pillow. Yeah.
Okay, enough of that. Let's get into Bhagavatam, okay?
Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before he started the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Preshva Badreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamandasya Jnananjana Shalakshur Militam Yena Tadme Shri Gurave Namaha. Born in the darkness of ignorance, my teachers have come out. My teachers are off. My teacher is one of the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are my teachers are opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Are from my obeisances at their lotus feet.
There you go.
Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, well, you told us we were going to get NPR Raghunath. Let's hear it, NPR Raghunath.
Okay. Canto 3. Chapter 26.
Correct.
Verse, Mara.
17.
Yeah, we read 16, which brought in the time factor, right?
Yeah, time.
Well, the last two verses did 15, 16. Now we're on 17.
Okay. My dear mother, O daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, the time factor, as I have explained, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom the creation begins as a result of the agitation of the neutral, unmanifested nature. What?
Yeah, so that's all that we've been reading, right? There's the unmanifested nature. There's the pradhan. There's the batter.
Okay.
Right? There's all of these different elements that we've been speaking about, the senses and the sense objects and the senses of action and the mind and the intelligence and the ego and the whole list of 24 elements. Now we're mentioning that sometimes this time factor is considered the 25th element, and it's going to agitate all of that stuff, right? And it's going to start to manifest in different ways. But here, just an interesting way that it's expressed. It's saying that the time, he says, my dear mother, the time factor, as I have explained, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom the creation begins as a result of the agitation of the neutral, unmanifested nature.
And what does that mean? It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Well, it I guess, well, we can read about that more in the next verse, actually. Why don't we read the next verse, and then we'll discuss it.
In text 18, by exhibiting his potencies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead adjusts all these different elements, keeping himself within as the Supersoul and without as time.
Okay. That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
He keeps himself within as the Supersoul and without as time. So that's all said in the context of us, right? In other words, what is he within? He's within us, right? He's within the heart of each living entity. So it means he's working on me, right? Like God is working on all of us, internally and externally, right? He's giving us freedom. He's allowing us to make our own choices. But at the same time, he's going to help us one way or the other, right? And so one way is he's inside as the Supersoul, and he speaks to us, but sometimes we don't hear, right? He doesn't force us, but he speaks to us. Sometimes that voice, for when you really want it, that voice can become very prominent and, ringing out very prominent. But when you don't want it, it's almost like we've tuned out of it, but it's still there. And so inside, he's there as Paramama, and then externally, he's there as time. If I'm not going to listen to the good advice, right, then time is there, working externally, and I'm going to have to listen to one or the other, right?
Oh, good.
Words, I could,
great way to put it. You're either listening, right, listening to the deep spiritual message and applying it, or the time factor's got you in a headlock and like punching you in the nose repeatedly. That's what's going on with the time factor.
Exactly.
It's making me droop. I was tight and now I'm drooping as I get older. Yeah. My face is drooping. My arms are drooping. Everything's drooping.
Time is something
that's
that you
the time
can't
factor.
ignore.
That's an extension of the time factor. Droopy Davy Dossie. She just comes in there and starts to droop your whole body and your face starts to droop.
Deputy droop along.
It happens.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm just sick of looking in the mirror. Ever get to that point, Kaustubha, where you're like, really? Today? Of all days?
It is said that when everyone else is asleep, time is awake, right? It doesn't go, you can't ignore it. You can't tune time out, right? Time. I heard this wonderful lecture by Raghunath Swami. He's talking about time. And he was saying that time is like the most, of all the material influences, time is more powerful than any of them, right? It is the most powerful influence. In that sense, it is Krishna, right? It's the most powerful influence. So he was saying like the sun, right? At every moment, the sun is actually, its own potency is being shortened, and then eventually the sun will black out due to the influence of time, right? The ocean, right? All the oceans are drying up. It's just a matter of time, the mountain. Think of whatever you can think of as powerful in the material realm. Whatever is most, what's the most powerful thing in the material realm? You could say the sun, right? What else would you might
Desire.
say? I don't know. Well, I'm saying
Gravity.
Gravity. Come on,
Hate.
it's like compared to the sun. But
Different measurements.
yeah,
Yeah.
in any case,
Sun's
the influence of gravity is within a relatively small area, But time wipes them all out, right? It's the number one influence, and so what to speak of our like very vulnerable and tiny little material bodies that we're not only existing in but identifying with, right? We're so tiny and we're so fragile, and we can ignore the Paramatma. We can choose to ignore the Paramatma. We can choose to ignore that voice of that friendship and wisdom, but we can't ignore the influence of time. And so Krishna is working internally as the Supersoul, externally as time. Time, we don't have to think of it though. I think we can think of time also as a friend, right? Like when you're tuned in right, then time is really helping you detach yourself from matter. Right?
It's only when you want to live in that illusion.
Yeah.
And that's just I'm saying all this stuff about my head because I've been looking. People have been sending. I put some post up that said something about, hey, if you have any old pictures, please send them to me. So I'm getting all these old pictures, and I'm having to go through all my old pictures for my book. And I was just like, it's just so amazing.
Like your head better then?
It was a much different head. It was a whole different everything.
Those times and working on your head.
My kids were like, man, you were in good shape. You were like, you look so happy and healthy. It's just like, what can you do? It's time. It's the time factor. There's no amount of superfood you can do that can beat the time. Spirulina will never beat the time factor. The time factor is stronger. There's no chaga or other types of medicinal mushroom that's going to beat the time factor.
That's right.
And no matter how strong they are.
So let's read this commentary. Let's go through it, Raghu.
Okay. 18?
Yeah.
Okay, commentary is good. Here it is stated that within the heart of the personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, resides the Supersoul.
Hold it. Slow it down. Let's try that sentence again.
What kind of whale? Here it is stated that within the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Not of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Here it is stated that within the heart. Okay, here we go. The Supreme Personality of Godhead resides as the Supersoul. Okay, that's what we have. This situation is also explained in the Gita. The Supersoul rests besides the individual soul and acts as a witness.
Mm-hmm.
Just watching. What is he going to do? What's Raghunath going to do today? Just Supersoul's just no. Does he giving those instructions, Kaustubha, or is he just witnessing? I thought he was giving instructions too.
He does that as well, but he witnesses. He does both. You're going to hear. Actually, well, this takes us to this. We could even go there right now. Let's go ahead and go there right now. He's alluding to a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 13:23. Do you know that one?
Yeah. Well, it's about to say it actually. It's in this purport. Do you know that?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying we could go there right now. Should we hold or should we go there right now? We can go there right now.
Let's go there.
Okay.
This is also confirmed elsewhere in the Vedic literature. Two birds are sitting on the same tree of the body. One is the witnessing bird, right? And the other is eating the fruits of the tree.
So where do we find that? What
That's
Vedic
the
literature?
Upanishads, right?
Yeah, that's in the Mundaka Upanishad, and I think it's in several places in different Upanishads.
Yeah. This Purusha, right, the Paramatma, who resides within the body of the individual soul, is described in the Gita also, 13:23. That's the verse.
That's right.
As the Upadrasta, the witness.
That's right.
Or the Anumanta, sanctioning authority.
That's right.
The conditioned soul engages in the happiness and distress of a particular body given him by the arrangement of the external energy of the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Living Being, or the Paramatma, is different from the conditioned soul. He is described in the Gita as Maheshwara.
Same verse. He's called Maheshwara.
Or the Supreme Lord. He is Paramatma, not Jivatma. He's Paramatma. He's the Supreme Atma, not the Jivatma, the finite, the tiny Atma.
That's right.
Paramatma means Supersoul, who is sitting by the side of the conditioned soul just to sanction his activities.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite unbelievable that Oprah copyrighted Supersoul.
Squirrel. Keep going.
Okay, sorry.
That's effective. It worked. Okay.
Paramatma means super soul, who is sitting by the side of the conditioned soul just to sanction his activities. The conditioned soul comes to this material world in order to lord it over material nature. Since one cannot do anything without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, he lives with the jiva as a witness and as a sanction giver. It's interesting to think like that. Okay, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go to Las Vegas and gamble. And the Paramatma is like, I'm sanctioning you.
Yeah.
Right? Because he could also not sanction me.
He could also not sanction it.
Right? The plane doesn't take off, or something's wrong. I lost my credit card.
Or even just convince you not to. Even right? Even throw a squirrel in your path.
Yeah.
You know, that you so that you don't follow it.
This is an interesting way to look at the world, isn't it?
It is. It's actually it's life changing. You know, if you start to think about this. You know, I find this interesting that the word Purusha is used here, right? That we speak of the Paramatma. Actually, anyway, let's go ahead. Let's go to chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
actually go there.
Yeah, we're going there. Okay. So this text 13:23. 13th chapter has so much information about the Paramatma, so much jnana in there, so much knowledge about our situation in this world, and especially the 13th chapter explains it in relation to the Paramatma, how we're moving through this world with this Paramatma, with Lord Vishnu within our own heart, and it'll give so much detail. So here, this verse is one of the important verses that explains that. So Upadrasta means the overseer, right? The witness. And Anumanta means the permitter. So he's seeing not only like our activities, but even our own thoughts, right? Our sufferings, our enjoyments. As we're aware of our sufferings, enjoyments, the Paramatma is also conscious. His consciousness is spread throughout our body. He's aware of our thoughts, of our desires, of our deeds, etc. He's also the permitter. He's permitting. Because all the material energy is working under his. He's also overseeing, you know, the workings of all the material energy. He may permit or not permit, you know, according to our karma, what we may or may not be able to do. So upadrast anumanta cha, you know, so he also means also. So he's the overseer, he's the permitter. He's also the bhokta, the supreme enjoyer, right? And he's Maha Ishvara. He's the Supreme Lord. Not just an Ishvara, right? There are many lords or many controllers on different levels. He's the
Maha
Ishvara, right? He's not the Atma, he's the Paramatma. He's not the, you know, he's not just the Purusha, he's the Purushottama, right? So Partha Bhokta Maheshwara, Paramat Meti Chapyukto. He's the Supersoul, the Paramatma. And it says Dehi Smin Purusha Para. He's within the body. And he's another enjoyer in there. The transcendental, these are the Para Purusha here, right? Right. So we see that even just in this verse, he's the Paramatma, he's the Maheshvara, he's the Purusha Para, or we could say Purushottama. He's that superior enjoyer, right? That's it. Purusha means, this is what I was thinking about. Purusha means person, but it also means enjoyer, which that says a lot right there, right? In other words, the nature of any person is to enjoy. That's our default setting, right? Here's a takeaway, right? Our default setting is enjoyment, right? Think about that, right? Just think about that. Then if I'm not enjoying it at any particular time, I should realize I'm not in my default. Something's, been adjusted in some way.
Good way to put it.
Right?
We're meant to enjoy. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, that's what we're
just doing it wrong. We don't know how to enjoy. We're like just going to the bad parties. There's a real party out there, and we're here to bring it to you.
That's right. So he's Purusha. Here saying he's Purusha Para. He's the transcendental enjoyer. He doesn't screw it up. He's always on it, right? He's always on his game. He's always enjoying. But we're that little mini person that's trying to enjoy, and we're trying to enjoy this material energy, and we're screwing up left and right. So we just have to listen. We just have to reconnect with that Purusha Para, that supreme enjoyer, to understand or to reconnect or to figure out how we can reestablish ourselves. So let's read this entire verse. He says, "Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and the permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul." So here's the commentary on this verse, all right? He says, "It is stated that the Supersoul, who is always with the individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord." So in the Bhagavatam verse we just read, it said that time was the representation of the Supreme Lord externally. Paramatma is the representation of the Supreme Lord internally. He is not an ordinary living entity, because the monist philosophers, right, those who believe that there is no you and me, we're all just one in the ultimate picture, because the monist philosophers take the knower of the body to be one, they think that there's no difference between the Supersoul and the individual soul. To clarify this, the Lord says that he is represented as the Paramatma in every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is Para, transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of a particular field. Right? We have this one body. But the Supersoul is present not as a finite enjoyer, nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness, the overseer, the permitter, and the supreme enjoyer, right? He's not hooked up to this equipment which is only capable of limited enjoyment and it gets mixed with all kinds. He's enjoying on the transcendental level always. Interesting, right? Okay. So the Supersoul, the Paramatma, has legs and hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because and that's also alluding to Upanishadic verses, right? And like, or even Vedic verses, like, what is it? The
Lord has thousands of heads, multitude of arms, hundreds
the
of
Purusha
feet.
Shukta, yeah, the Purusha Shukta prayers, right? Yeah, so that's going back to Vedic authority. He's alluding to there,
right?
So the Supersoul, the Paramatma, has legs and hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because the Paramatma is the Supreme Lord, he is present within to sanction the individual soul's desiring material enjoyment. Without the sanction of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. We were talking about that, last week, right? It's like you're sitting in a chair plugged into virtual reality. You don't do anything. What's permitted is determined by that Paramatma. The individual is the bhokta, or the sustained, and the Lord is the bhokta, or the maintainer. There are innumerable living entities, and he is staying in them as a friend, right? As a friend. We really got to think about that, right?
I know. It's a nice way to put it.
As a friend. The fact is, something you want to say about that friend?
No, he's my friend. Just a nice way to perceive the higher power.
You got a friend. So the fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has a tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature, right? To dominate the material elements.
That's what it's all about. That's the material world. I'm trying to.
That's what we're doing. That's all we're doing here.
Trying to dominate people, places, things.
Yeah, stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And it never makes you happy to the degree that you can dominate. It's just like
that's where the time thing comes in too, right?
Yeah, and the time thing, but also the insatiable senses. Dominate and dominate and dominate and dominate. It makes it crazy.
It does. It does. But the living entity has a tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because they have this tendency, they are called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. Okay, what are the three energies then, Raghunath?
In Sanskrit or English?
Well, however, just explain it in one way. You could say
marginal?
internal, external, marginal.
Internal, external, marginal.
And what is the difference?
Tatastya Shakti.
Yeah, that's the marginal.
Marginal.
So in other words, we've been reading in this,
marginal means we can go either way. We can just sort of flow. It's like a spark comes out of the fire.
That's right.
And that spark can like catch everything else on fire, or it can actually be extinguished.
Yeah.
And the spark, continuing with this analogy, and the spark landing on the wet grass, the analogy is to your spiritual life, hanging out with people that don't want a spiritual life, think you're even interesting anymore because you have a spiritual life, and those people start to extinguish your spark.
Oh.
But we need to be around people that when we land with those people, they make us into an inferno, a towering inferno. That's who we want to hang out with. People that are lighting us and bringing us higher and igniting us, because we are a spark. Do we want to be extinguished or lit up?
So what is it that lights one up? It's
Sadhu
the internal.
Sangha.
Well, I was going to say it's the internal energy, right? Sadhu Sangha means it's a group of people that are like that are connecting with and maintaining that internal. So the internal energy means the spiritual energy. That energy is never covered by darkness. It's never covered by ignorance. It's never covered by illusion. Then there's the illusory energy itself. And in between is the soul, like us. We are the marginal energy. We are composed of spiritual energy. We are spiritual by nature. But we have that tendency as the marginal energy to sometimes become influenced or covered by the external energy. Right?
Covered by the external energy. Could be a
Someone
song.
from Scranton. Who is it from Scranton? We just heard from someone from Scranton.
Sierra.
She's from Scranton.
Scranton-ish area.
There you go. Okay.
It's a thing.
So,
people are from Scranton.
I'm aware that there are people there.
We got to find someone from Harrisburg, because I like to drop that name too. Harrisburg. Who's from Harrisburg out there?
Okay. So again, let's get back to this. We act independently in an attempt to dominate nature, and because we have this tendency, we are called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity can be situated either in the material energy or the spiritual energy, right? So material, marginal, spiritual, those are the three. You can also say external, marginal, internal, however you want to say it. Okay, so the living entity can be situated either in the material energy or the spiritual energy. As long as they are conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord, as his friend, the Supersoul, stays with them to get them to return to the spiritual energy. The Lord is always eager to take them back to the spiritual energy. But due to their minute independence, the living entity is continually rejecting the association of spiritual light.
I like that.
Okay?
This association of spiritual light.
Spiritual light. This misuse of independence is the cause of their material strife in the conditioned nature. Are you taking photographs of your screen?
Take a photograph. I just wanted to capture this moment.
This misuse of independence is the cause of their material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and from without. Now, here we're going to have a different within and out. Same within, different without. Time was the without in the other one. He's working in several ways without. So from without, he gives instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. And from within, he tries to convince the living entity that their activities in the material field are not conducive for real happiness. Think about that. If there's someone sitting there in my heart, aware of my desires, right? Aware of my behavior, but also the permitter, right? Not just the witness, not just the upadrasta, but the anumanta, right? Not just the witness, but also the permitter. And I find myself frustrated in different activities. Maybe that person is trying to give me some message to turn back to the spiritual energy, right? So again, the Lord therefore is always giving instructions from within and from without. From within, he gives instructions as stated in Bhagavad Gita. From without, he tries to convince the living entity that their activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. Real happiness, right? Just give it up and turn your faith toward me. Then you will be happy, he says. Thus, the intelligent person who places faith in the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins to advance towards a blissful, eternal life of knowledge. Reconnecting to that voice within. Here's a question for you, Raghunath. Any voice that we hear in the head, is that necessarily the Paramatma?
Yeah, it's God all the time.
Okay, just checking.
All the time.
Just checking.
No, I like you know what I like to say about this is that God's always speaking to us. It's just sort of like you got to have that radio tuned into the right station. Like right now, there's radio stations, thousands of them in my room right now. But unless I have that receiver and I'm tuning in. So we say that when you're actually advancing in yoga, you are so in tune with that voice that it's as if it's leading you in this world, where to go, left, right, up, down, him, her, no, go, yes, no. That is advancing in yoga. As far as hearing that super soul within, like people say, I have a gut feeling, I've got a deep intuition. There's a truth behind that. That's the guru of the heart, the Chaita guru, you can call it the Paramama. But we got to be careful because sometimes there's other stuff talking to us in there too. Anxiety, fear, lust, greed. They talk to us all the time. Sometimes they completely direct and own us. They are the driver of the chariot. Sorry, go left, go right, go. There's her, definitely her. No, not her, him. You know, and so we got to be careful with what else is talking to us in the mind.
Be real careful with the him, right?
Him. and
not him.
And
no, not
so
him.
that's that we have guru within. I just gave this whole class in the 4th chapter in my Bhagavad Gita at noon today. Yeah. People want a guru, but in the yoga community now, it's no. You are the guru. You are the guru. You jump on the altar. Right. You hear people say that, jump on the altar.
I haven't heard that.
Who says that?
Jump on the altar.
You
terrible.
Are the God. You are the
That's
God
exactly
you're looking for.
It's the exact opposite of what we're supposed to understand. It's like, get yourself the hell off that altar. You don't belong there.
No, people have been counterfeited. They've been cheated. They've been counterfeited. And therefore they think, well, nothing can be authentic. Nothing can be real because of all the counterfeit I've seen or been a part of, etc. Not
Throwing
true.
The baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, not true. Doesn't mean there can't be something real just because you've been dealt counterfeit. And if the guru is within, and I need no guru, why read any book? Hello? Why read any book? Why listen to anybody if the guru is within? No, it's such a fallacious, broken system that people preach. Here's a great example: jiu-jitsu. If the guru is within, go into the jiu-jitsu class and just fight a guy randomly. The guru is within, don't sweat it. No, right. You get better exponentially at a martial arts by having a teacher that instructs not like that, like this, not like that, like this, not like this, like that. That's why we need teachers in our life. They accelerate our path, our progress on the path. Makes sense when you look at it like martial arts, huh?
It does.
Or music, or violin.
But when you get to questions like that's how to learn a skill, but there's also like questions, let's say, of morality, right? Like what is right and what is wrong? Right. And is my head always telling me the right thing?
Well, I can vouch for a big fat no.
Okay.
My intelligence has told me repeatedly to do the wrong thing, and I'm just so not in tune with what is intelligence. What are my senses?
Yeah.
What are my lower chakras? What are my higher chakras?
Whatever we decide to do, somehow we've become convinced that that's what's going to lead towards happiness.
Right.
But it could be totally off.
Right? Completely off. And the whole that's what like the whole world is problems with the whole world. They're off on how I'm going to be happy in this world.
Right.
Like the king, Bhishma just said, be simple. Well, why would you say that? You have everything. How can you say be simple? And he's giving us information to some insight because he's walked this path ahead of us.
There you go. Now,
The Mahajans.
Chaitanya Charan, the spiritual scientist, someone placed a question to him. Our conscience, is that always the voice of the Supersoul? Right? When we hear something inside, it's telling us what is right. Is it necessarily the Supersoul that's speaking to us? And his answer was no. And this is what he said. He said, our sense of morality, our sense of right or wrong, is often culturally conditioned. Right? In other words, it's not the Paramama, but it's conditioning that's been programmed into the mind through culture, coming through the senses.
America. You go to Thailand, you can eat a bug. It's okay. People eat bugs. You can get them in the market. I buy bananas. They're buying bugs. It's okay. That's how we've been culturally programmed. I'm not saying it's okay. It's not okay. Don't eat bugs. Raghunath said I could. But just depending on your neighborhood, you get. We're from New York, where we hung out in New York a lot. We have a New York brain. It's much different than an LA brain.
Is it?
Much different. Jennifer's like, yep, it is. People, if you've lived in LA and New York, you know they're two different beasts.
They are. So he continues. He says, again, our sense of morality, our sense of right or wrong is often culturally conditioned, and the culturally conditioned sense of right or wrong may not always reflect the will of the Paramatma. So now this is what he says. Now you were saying like to learn a skill, therefore we need a teacher, but he's saying to understand, to truly understand what is right or wrong, right? We need to tune into that Paramatma. And he's saying, so that's why we need purification. Now you mentioned earlier, you mentioned a whole list of things that might prevent us from being tuned in to Paramatma, right? What did you say?
Anxiety, fear of failure, lust, greed. These are things that
those are kind of
oftentimes are the carrots in front of our noses that make us do certain things.
So now here's where we're getting to yoga, right? You see, like people that are from the yoga tradition get this. Sometimes people that are just kind of like dabbling with yoga that haven't gone into the tradition don't get. Right, where they might say, you just got to let go of all these anxieties and all these hang-ups and all,
right.
What the traditional yoga system was a way of rooting out those anxieties and hang-ups, but it's not just by like not disciplining oneself, right?
Right.
Like so if let's say my lust, my greed, my anxiety, whatever, my fear, right? That these things are preventing me from being tuned into the Paramatma. So I'm getting mixed messages. I'm getting messages that are saying this will make you happy, that'll make you happy, because I have lust, because I have greed, because I have anxiety. These things are influencing me in my decision-making process. So when Chaitanya Charan says, therefore we need purification, to hear that, it means we need to root those out of the consciousness. How is that done? Part of the yoga path is that let me regulate my life. Let me regulate what's coming through. Is all this stuff that's been coming through my senses that has programmed my mind this way. Let me begin to regulate my life so that it's not getting overwhelmed by this cultural programming. And simultaneously, let me work on the spiritual end by engaging in spiritual sadhana. In this way, the spiritual sadhana is like you say, you have that glass and it's full of ink, right? And you're pouring enough milk, and then eventually you have the glass, it's full of milk, right?
Oat milk.
Oat milk, whatever you want to call it. So you on the spiritual end, we're pouring in the the spiritual, the mantras, the contemplation on the teachings, the meditations, etc. And at the same time, we're like sucking out like we're trying to suck out the
previous lifetimes
or at least
lifetimes of conditioning,
or not even suck it out. What we're doing is we're trying not to let any more in. We're not going to let any more of the ink in, and that's through regulation of the senses, regulation of one's activities, and so on. Now you got a process of purification. Now you're moving forward towards like beginning to hear that voice, that internal voice, getting it clear, being tuned, no static, right? Tuning into that voice real clear. That's how yoga works.
Well, yeah.
All right. We still haven't finished this commentary on the verse that we were reading today.
You squirreled over to the Bhagavad Gita, sir.
That wasn't a squirrel. Prabhupada pointed us over to that Bhagavad Gita, okay?
I know. He said it was a squirrel on a
It's a transcendental squirrel.
Authorized trail.
That was an authorized squirrel.
That was an authorized detour.
Yeah.
All right.
Want to read the last paragraph or the second paragraph?
Since the living entity is constitutionally part and parcel of the personality of Godhead, the Lord is very affectionate to the living entities. Unfortunately, when the living entity is bewildered or illusioned by the external energy, bewildered or illusioned, he becomes forgetful of his eternal relationship with the Lord. But as soon as he becomes aware of his constitutional position, he's liberated. The minute independence of the conditioned soul is exhibited by his marginal position. If he likes, he can forget the personality of Godhead and come into the material existence with a false ego to lord it over material nature.
Yeah, tuned out.
But if he likes, he can turn his face to the service of the Lord. The individual living
Tuned in.
entity is given that independence. His conditional life is ended, and his life becomes successful as soon as he turns his face to the Lord. That's it. We're just not facing the Lord. But by missing his independence, he enters into material existence. Yet the Lord is
misusing his independence.
Oh, I'm sorry, misusing his independence. He enters into material existence. Yet the Lord is so kind that as a super soul, he always remains with that conditioned soul. The concern of the Lord is neither to enjoy nor to suffer from the material body. He remains with the jiva simply as a sanction giver and witness, so the living entity can receive the results of his activities, good or bad. I don't wish it upon myself again. When I was in the hospital last week with that COVID, but I will say, because I was feeling like who knows if I can live and die, I was very God conscious. I was completely distressed in every other way, but I was actually like really God conscious, like more than I am now or today, even after this Bhagavatam class. I was just, it was that position of being like vulnerable.
Your own vulnerability, yeah.
Your own vulnerability of like, am I going to keep this body or is it going to just go back into the earth or formaldehyded? Or burnt, whatever. And it's just like I'm thinking like it just put God so at the forefront of your face. It was actually a gift.
Beautiful.
But I don't wish it back. I don't. But I wish that feeling back. More than a feeling.
Okay, Mara. Before he goes off on chasing larger squirrels, do we have any takeaways for today?
We do. We have some good ones today.
Okay.
It's not just the external bath, it's the internal bath of mantra.
Right? The fish stink. The fish stink and they're in the water all day. Make that one. That's an easier one.
Okay.
The fish stink.
The fish stink. Have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
God is working on all of us internally and externally.
That's a main theme right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Time is the most powerful and wipes out all other material factors.
That's right.
Time keeps on ticking.
Into the
future.
No amount of spirulina will beat the time factor.
There you go.
I like that one.
Our default setting is enjoyment.
Yeah.
Hang out with people that light you up.
Light it up.
Come on.
God is always speaking. Tune into the right station to hear it.
Yes.
Get the hell off the altar.
Get the hell off the altar, man.
Get the hell
That's
off
just
the
someone just
altar.
comes over and just jumps on your altar.
I like that one.
That was good. Scranton, and guess what? Michelle Berger is from Harrisburg. Didn't know that.
There you go. And you know what we should maybe mention is that people are starting to sign up, and spots are filling up rapidly for the
like crazy. Like you're not going to get your spot. That spot you wanted, you're not going to get it. There's a scarcity here.
That's right, for the Cali Columbia trip, even for the Italy trip. That's filling up fast.
That's pretty interesting. People love Italy.
But especially Cali Columbia is coming up sooner. If you want to go to Cali Columbia for this really great getaway,
Wisdom of the Sages retreat.
Yeah.
What
do they
join
do?
us. They go to Bhakti Retreats 108 at gmail.com. Bhakti Retreats 108 at gmail.com and say, I want to go. I want to hang out with Mara. You write that on your email. Okay?
I think at least one day Mara should do like a vegan meatball kind of thing.
Vegan meatball, then a
sushi.
whole song and dance, a kirtan. Just a little Barton Natyam.
Can you do that for us, Mara, one day?
Bust out some of your Barton Natyam moves.
So there
Mara.
I won't bust out any dance moves, but I will make some vegan meatballs.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, that'd be great.
Or sushi. The sushi, I'd be down for the sushi too.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, she makes a good vegan sushi. Sushi-less sushi.
Or both. Maybe one day sushi, one day vegan meatball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
And then there could be a burrito day as well.
she made. I can tell you, I was
Anyone else
really
looking for this retreat?
these great burritos the other day. Okay, everybody, this is it. Hey, I'm also going to India. If you guys want to go to India with me, go to my website, Raghunath.yoga. Raghunath.yoga. I got .yoga. Isn't that cool? They make a .yoga now. They went from
Raghunath, it doesn't
.com.
really do anything for me. That
You don't like that?
I mean,
.yoga?
it's
It went from
okay.
.com, which everyone loved, .net, no one cared about, and now it's like .yoga, which is like, all right, yes. So
Okay.
Raghunath.yoga, India, and then I'm going to Nepal right afterwards. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Okay. All
Going
right.
to Nepal. You can go to one or both. You go to both? We can hang out for a month. They're about 2 weeks each time. Mara's going to go to one of them. She hasn't decided yet. Mara is, we've decided yesterday, she's the transcendental Raghava Pandit. Oh, Sweet Baby Krishna tonight. What do you
bags.
say?
Sweet Baby Krishna tonight. What time?
Yes. Mara is going to get a thing of vegan meatballs, bring them to Govardhan Hill, offer them with love to Govardhan Hill, and then walk around Govardhan Hill and feed the sadhus vegan meatballs. There was a
great
sadhu that did that in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Raghava Pandit. You'd do all these sweets, and he'd give all
He'd
the
make
sweets
these
away.
bags. He'd have
Bags
he'd
of
make
sweets,
bags of them.
sort of like a Krishna conscious Halloween. Give me those little boo bags.
Yeah,